100 Days of Gratitude, day 35, and today I am grateful for birds. I'm going to keep this video a little bit shorter and introduce a little bit of a thought experiment for you to kind of reflect on birds and our relationship, our influence they have on us as a human species. I was just the other day going up the chairlift, and we're like right at the top of the hill, and this bird just kind of swooped right across, and just observing that bird, the sensation that I got by being at the top of the hill and watching this bird just soar, just coast. The thought experiment is, how much is that just that one single experience of watching a bird in flight, soaring, how much has that influenced human consciousness? And not just a state of mind, but also action, creation. In that moment, I got, this kind of energetic, body, just wanted to just merge with that bird, to fly, to float there, to hang there, to have that sense of freedom, really. And it was so inspiring. And I know we've all been caught in that moment of, feeling one with nature and in awe and, physically, energetically moved by it. And that's just one instance, right? So birds play an incredible role, obviously in the ecosystem, but in our own human consciousness. So, what is that? There is that moment of just observing a bird. We can get that sense of upliftment, of, that longing for freedom, that, expansiveness, of course, of which, not only music and poetry and writing and everything else has been inspired by that, but also, physical feats, right? Would we have created instruments of flight for humans without that inspiration of birds? The other thing I think birds provide as an effect on human consciousness is, it's quiet out. This morning, it's Wednesday morning. It's not that early. Nobody's out. My daughter and I walked all the way down here, and we literally saw one other person. But we saw numerous birds, and we heard probably about 10 times more. I know some of you have even commented that one of the things that you like about the videos is, the scenery, the nature, but very oftentimes, if there's geese, if there's crows or chickadees, just that chirping, that sound. And the effect that has on human consciousness, is an upliftment of a solace. And these days, most people are pretty distracted, isolated. They're indoors, away from the sounds of birds. And then when they do get outside, are they really in a place to enjoy it? Downtown, in the city, maybe cars going by. You're not in this sense of stillness and solace where you can hear those birds, right? Be it morning time, classic, right? Just think about the dawn breaking and all the birds awake and their little chattering, their little chirping, their little singing, and the influence, not just again in the moment, which is so powerful, right, of what one can tap into internally, experiencing that, but its influence beyond in the arts, in the science. So I'm grateful for birds. Love birds. My dad's a bit of a amateur birder, certainly not a pro by any means, but he likes to watch birds. He likes to be able to identify them. It's just something to do, like kind of an activity, while you're out. He does a ton of outdoor activities all the time, and a big thread through that is, hey, I'm outside, and who's out as well. He's not so good at listening to the songs and be able to identify by the songs, but that's something fun. That's something that I've been trying to like, oh, okay, that's a robin, right? Like that's the sound of a blue jay. That is a flicker. Learning their songs and being able to recognize them just by hearing them, because you can't always see them. What he does is he tries to observe them and identify them via sight. So every year he'll take record, starting in January, the entire year. How many different types of birds can he see? And sometimes he's up to, 150, that type of thing, which is pretty small in the world of real true birders, but I think it's pretty impressive. And it's kind of a fun activity to, track. And there's always this focus while you're going out of, okay, what type of birds are out and about and what can we connect with? And there's that seasonality of the migrations and the patterns, and just is very connective. So anyways, today I'm grateful for birds. And I totally forgot. I started walking along and I was like, oh yeah, there's two other really important aspects. And I'm sure there's a ton more. So I'd love to hear from you. How else have birds influenced and uplifted the human species? I would say, two really important ones. First is nutrition, right? As sources of food, not only the birds themselves, but their eggs. Incredible dietary staple of the human species. We would not be the same. We would not be who we are without birds as a source of nutrition. And then the other one, which is kind of, gone by the wayside, but for the longest time was incredibly important, which was communication and the idea of the carrier pigeon. Yeah, my friend Daniel did a whole podcast on that, interviewed somebody who still, has a deep relationship with pigeons. This is a species that, not quite as integral as dogs, but to a very similar level, where people had this incredible connection and relationship with birds and pigeons for a long time in particular. Not to mention like canaries and coal mines and, this type of thing. There's examples of human and bird relationships all around the world. And, some have kind of gone by the wayside. But fascinating, hey, to think about the idea of the carrier pigeon and using birds as a means to communicate over long distances. We take for granted, our ability, even in my lifetime, your lifetime, how much our ability to communicate has changed, has improved, has, become so instant. Back then, right, it was carrier pigeons. Unbelievable. Write a little note, stick it on its feet, and send it off. I can't even begin to fathom, how did they do that? How is that possible, that relationship? And I think it just speaks to, a deeper aspect of humanity and our connection to nature and our ability to work with it. So anyways, had to include tack those thoughts on related to birds. It's day 35, 100 days of gratitude. Super grateful for those little chirpers.